Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 Fall Recruitment Marketing Membership Preview with Ben Buckaloo, Darren Ken, and Michael Ramsey. The number one question we've gotten for years, Ben, is what?
Are we recording
Are
this?
you recording this? Right? Absolutely, we're recording this. And you can shoot that QR code. We're going to record it. We'll trim the edges off of it and get it posted probably tomorrow at some point that you can watch it again and again and again. By the way, if you have to drop off, or if you just want to watch this again, we're going to do it again tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. You can join us again. We imagine we'll probably have even more volunteers and professionals join us tonight too. So we are recording this. And this is all about solving our most important thing that we can do as an organization. That's get more scouts into this amazing program. As Will Rogers said, the only thing wrong with scouting is there's not enough scouts out there. So we're going to talk about how we're going to
Right.
get more and more kids involved in this program this year. So what we're going to do first is we're going to preview the national overlay, the national, what we call air support. It's social, it's digital, it's influencers. We're going to talk about how we reach these aggressive campaign objectives of recruiting 284,000 members by the end of 2026. That's and a 6% increase in traffic to beascout.org. By the way, we've increased traffic to beascout.org double digits 2 years in a row, which is super exciting. But we'll talk about how we're going to do that even more in 2026, which also includes action on page for beascout.org. What does that mean? Well, that means if you, we've all done this. You go to a website, you realize it's not really what I was looking for, you bounce off someplace. What we want is quality traffic going to beascout.org, and we want them to either look for a unit or click to join. They want to take an action on a page, not just hit and bounce off. We want to drive action on those pages, and that includes a conversion rate of 14.8%. So that's what we're looking at a national level, right? Just a quick look at what has gone on over the past couple of years. As I mentioned, we have driven double-digit increases in traffic to beascout.org over the past couple of years. You may recall from webinars in the past or different meetings you've been to is that there was little to no investment at all at national level driving traffic to beascout prior to about 2 years ago. We put together a very modest campaign and had incredible results in terms of driving traffic. And that's using social, digital influencers, things we'll talk about in a few minutes. But our goal is to continue to drive those numbers forward. So, and we track them every single day with the chart. So moving on. Conversion rates. Darren, you want to talk about conversion rates a little bit? This is important for us because, again, it's not just about go to beascout.org and shop around. We want you to do something on the page, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Michael, what we want you to do, hopefully, is join, become a new member of the organization. So, historically, about a little over 10% of visitors to beascout.org eventually become members in terms of, making that payment and actually joining the organization. And for 26, we have a very aggressive goal of moving that up to 14.8%. So, we'll be doing a number of things, as we'll talk about over the next few minutes, to help that conversion happen, to help people through their customer journey.
It's interesting, previous life in direct mail and direct marketing, if you got a 2% return rate on a direct mail campaign, just 2%, it would build a statue to you in front of the building. I mean, 2% is really good. Well, think about it, right, Ben?
Oh, yeah.
Some piece of junk mail shows up at your house. If you actually, how many times I bought something with a postcard? Usually not. So it's low cost, but it's high impact if you can get it to work. And
Mhm.
I don't know what your personal email inbox looks like, but mine's do I
Go
open all
ahead
the
and
stuff that
say it.
flows
Go ahead
in?
and say it's a dumpster fire.
It's a
Yeah.
dumpster fire, right? I mean, I get this random email from somebody who wants me to buy a timeshare and wherever. No, right? So 14.8% is fundamental. 10 points is really amazing.
Yeah.
We get 14.8. That is an aggressive stretch goal. But one of the things that we are doing from a national marketing, and we'll talk about this, and it's pretty amazing, is making sure that it's quality traffic into the funnel, which means that we're using AI to, as Darren says, turn momentum into movement in 2026. And some of those tools help us do that. It's not just a scatter shot. It's really targeted at people who are most likely to join.
I was going to mention also, it's just so important that you do multiple things. I like the yes and concept where you have to spend money, you have to do some things on marketing, also boots on the ground. So I love everything that you're about to cover and talk
That is
about.
absolutely right. I mean, and if you think about, and I think Darren even has a chart on this in a minute, and maybe it's the next one, uh, that, oh, and there it is, right? I mean, there's this whole thing in marketing, which by the way, I've never been able to prove is actually true, but it sounds good, so it must be true, is that, it takes at least 9 touches or nine, you see a message 9 times before you even start to make a decision. We see tens and thousands of messages every single day. If you think about it, every logo on your or every icon on your phone, some type of advertising message, right? Whether it, whatever it is, so we're not making decisions just based on, I saw a billboard going down the road or whatever that looks like. But it's really been, as you said, you're really kind of surrounding your customer with messages, right? And so one of the things that we have been working on for, gosh, this is the 3rd year now, is really making sure that it's a 360 approach to marketing, that you're seeing us on social and digital. So for example, and I'll start on my right, your left-hand side of the chart, content integration. How do we get scouting's name into various social media posts, for example? Video pre-roll. If you've ever gone online and searched for, I don't know, something, and then an ad for that something follows you all across the internet?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, so what we're doing that. That's called retargeting, and it's actually a paid media tactic. So if you go in and search for, Cub Scouts, or if you go to beascout.org, we retarget our customers with those ads to remind them that, hey, Cub Scouts here is so pretty cool. Video pre-roll, when you go on to YouTube, for example, and you want to watch, I don't know, a video on how to sharpen your chainsaw blade, but you've got to watch this commercial first. Well, that's called video pre-roll, and it's another paid marketing tactic. Google search ads, we all know. I mean, how do you find anything these days? You say, hey, Google, find barbecue near me or whatever. It is the 800-pound gorilla in our set of tactics, because it's how people find things these days. So we invest heavily in industrial scale search throughout the entire year. So no matter where you are, if you search for and Cub Scouting near me, you're very likely, if you're in the target set, to get an ad that hits you back to beascout.org. Website ads, we're all familiar with those when they pop up on the websites we go to. We talked about retargeting. PR and earned media, you may not know this, but we had our biggest PR year ever was 2025. We had over 33,000 different articles published around scouting last year. And that was related to everything from lighting the Empire State Building to David Montgomery to the AI and cyber merit badges. I mean, we really carpeted the media with stories about scouting, and all that is designed to build awareness and interest and talk about the value of the program. But that goes on throughout the entire year, and we're doing more of that in fall of this year. In fact, I know that our Gordon Shadows, who leads our PR effort, is coming along a handful of councils and working on doing some real dedicated PR work in some key markets. You'll hear more about that going forward too. Influencer content, Darren's going to talk more about influencers here in just a few minutes. Obviously, social media ads, we think about those a lot. We are using those profiles to make sure we're reaching parents of elementary school age kids, with ads on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We'll talk about this in a minute. We probably can't say it enough, Ben. I've had people come in and say, well, I'm not seeing your ads. Well, are you the parent of an elementary school age kid? If you're not, then you're probably not going to see our ad. You shouldn't be seeing our ads on Instagram or TikTok, right? I mean, it's just it's a targeting thing, but it's also looking at your likelihood of joining. So if somebody who's doesn't fit that profile is getting ads, there may be something wrong.
Yeah. We
somewhere.
probably spent the wrong money if I'm getting the ads.
That's right. That's right. If my 82-year-old dad's getting the ads, we're spinning in the wrong place, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we're going to talk streaming TV, which we just started last year with Hulu and Disney Plus and YouTube TV. We're going to do even more of that this year, with some very good reasons why. So Darren, next slide. So and I'm going to let Darren talk through some of these, because there's some really new innovative stuff as the marketing advertising world has evolved. And I know, Darren, you're going to go through a deeper dive, but AI targeting for audiences. The great thing about AI is it does a deep dig into data and analytics, and not just, am I a certain age and live in a certain place, but it's also looking at your behaviors online. Well, we use AI to do a better job of targeting audiences, so I can have a more efficient spend. more sports related content, which I'm excited about. We'll talk about that in a minute. Audio streaming. Ben, are you Spotify or are you Pandora? Which one are you?
I actually do whatever my daughters aren't using
See,
because
there you go. Right.
that's I'd use it all.
Don't forget
Give
Apple
me your
Music.
password, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I bet she's Team Spotify, I'm guessing,
I have
right?
one on Spotify and also have one on. Yeah, it's all of them. We have to
Yeah.
keep up with it
Well,
all.
it's amazing if you look at the stats, how much time moms, parents spend listening to Spotify
Mhm.
and Pandora during the workday. It's kind of their background music in their headsets as they play. And by the way, we stream advertising for those as well. So it's exciting. New media partnerships, better use of shorts and reels. I got to tell you, I waste a lot of time on Instagram watching reels and on TikTok as well. And guess what? Our target audiences are too. It's highly targeted piece, and then more use of influencers. North Valley Group was one of our influencer groups. They're all scouts out of California. They hit with more big influencer content for us last week, and we're going to do more of that too. So Darren, rolling into these, I think you've got even more details on some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the AI tools and the targeting for just a brief second. So, used to be, remember back in the day, advertisers used to purchase a slot in a program, right? And that's, you would reach sort of whoever happened to be watching that program. Then, with the advent of social channels, we were able to really target in on specific demographic profiles. So, parents of elementary age kids of a certain age and a certain, geographic location. And we thought that was awesome at the time. But now we're on the cusp of doing something even better. And that is within that demographic profile, we can use AI tools to hone in on people's intent, detect their feelings and their intent, and really target people who have an intent to join something who are looking for something to do with their families, who enjoy the outdoors, who enjoy scouting type activities, and target just those people. So we've got tools that will analyze text and photos that people post on their social channels and images and look at video through Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and YouTube and X, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, all those channels, and really hone in on people who show a high intent to be interested in scouting or joining our movement. And we can then track their mobile IDs and serve them ads as they move throughout the internet. So, very, very cool way of targeting that's very efficient and will help us reach those very aggressive goals that we have by being even more laser focused on the right people with our ads.
It's interesting. I'm remembering back when I used to buy radio back in the day, and you knew, and Darren, actually, you work for Disney, so you know how this world works. But you wanted to buy, you'd buy traffics or weather, right? I'm going to buy 15 seconds before the top of the hour, but you knew what station you were buying because it was either predominant, you know, Caucasians of a certain age, or you're buying a Hispanic demographic, or whatever it looked like, right? But you knew what you were buying, but it was a little bit, it was passive. This is completely different. You're actually, you're not buying 15 seconds before the news. You're really buying behaviors and likelihood to buy or join or participate, right?
That's exactly right. You're just much more efficient with the spend in this case, able to really target in on folks who you're trying to reach. That's the gold standard. Find people who are looking for things to do, looking for great experiences for their families, looking to put the screens down and get outside. And we can do all those things with these AI
Yeah.
tools.
So the ad, and by the way, the other thing I think is interesting about this world that we've been living in is, we're not just putting out one ad. There are dozens and dozens of iterations of images and messages. So the image that Ben gets might be slightly different than the one that I get based on our online behavior, right? So it's a little bit dark arts, but it's an amazing. It's not just A/B testing. You're really testing dozens and dozens of conversations that drive traffic. So I love this. I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, we're getting into the audio space. So, last year was the first year we streamed, on screens, right? Hulu and Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, YouTube TV. That was amazing. We're going to expand that even further and get into the audio space this year. So, as you mentioned, people are listening to podcasts and playlists all day long. And so there's no reason we shouldn't have scouting ads in those places. Again, targeting the parents of elementary age kids. So Spotify should be huge. We're excited to see what that will do this year.
So cool.
And of course, you also mentioned about, expanding our influencer voices. So right now we've got a cast of about 12 different influencers that we have out in the marketplace talking about scouting, talking about their, authentic experiences to their audiences. And right now it's sort of focused on parents of elementary age kids, people who have been involved in scouting in the past, and we're going to continue to do that. But what we'll add to that are folks who are parenting experts. So folks who, talk about the problems that families are facing today and how scouting can be a solution to some of those problems. We'll be including trusted partners, folks who, can help tell our story along with us, alongside us, and some comedic parents too. So you mentioned North Valley Group. They have been such a hit at reaching broad audiences with our scouting messages that we want to do more of that. We want to sort of, not get too concerned about, is the patch exactly a quarter inch above the sleeve, and let some humor work into some of the stuff that we're doing, and see how that goes.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and millions of impressions around North Valley Group. It's really, their geofencing or geocaching spot last year was just terrific. I think you're right. It's not just about scouting's fun. And I think we've done a pretty good job of talking about the value of the program, but this is going to help us do even more in emphasizing the value proposition. Why is this good for kids today? How does this get them off of these and gets them back outdoors? I love it. Love it.
Yeah, so you see the broad channel mix here. We'll be everywhere, quote unquote, and happily so. So streaming on Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and YouTube TV. Very powerful platforms at reaching who we're trying to reach. Spotify, streaming audio. We'll, of course, continue our social media ads on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and those are by far the dominant players in the social space. It's where families are. We'll be there too. Influencer content on Instagram and TikTok. You mentioned earned media and PR. Those efforts will continue not only on the national level, but we're working with some, select councils across the country to tell great local stories as well in local markets. We'll be retargeting on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. So that's where you've come to one of our web properties and spent time, and you move away from the website, as an example. We'll, continue to follow you around the internet with ads. You mentioned display ads earlier. Those are, website ads, tile ads that you might see on sites. Google search continues, video pre-roll continues, and we'll be looking to do some content work with Disney and Nat Geo. So very powerful brands that are trusted by families, and brands that will be in to get in front of families this fall.
So as Ben was pointing out earlier, it's not just one thing. It really is hitting all around where our customers are, either whether they're on their phones or where they are, the multi-screen experience. One, you mentioned earned PR, and this is for everybody. And we have councils that are really good at this. But if you've got great local stories, send them to me, send them to Gordon Shaddle, send it to PR@scouting.org. David Williams, reached out yesterday. They were shooting video with some great scouts doing great things. I think that are in the Quartermaster Award and some things. We're looking for great stories all the time. I mean, we are really, really pushing because PR, our media is really credible source of stuff. Darren, talk about NFL Network for a minute. I'm excited to see that on the list.
Yeah, so, and the NFL Network was acquired by ESPN in a deal earlier this year. And so we'll have the ability through our Disney partnership to expand and move into content around NFL Network properties. So very exciting. We know the David Montgomery storyline has been very impactful, helping tell our scouting story through David's history and his involvement in the movement. And we hope to continue that, to help people understand, I can do both scouting and sports. So through things around Super Bowl coverage and other properties will be, will be highlighted on the NFL Network in terms of having our ads placed, all throughout the year.
That's fantastic.
So, Michael, do you want to talk a bit about the
Yeah,
playbook?
yeah, local council playbook. We published the first one of these last year. There are another one, Darren, I believe it's coming out within the next two weeks, I believe. But this will be an overview of all of the high level strategies and tactics that we're, so you'll see a kind of a deep dive. The most interesting, so you'll be able to see exactly what we're doing. So if there's timelines, Darren, I think one of the most fascinating things about this book is that it is a great resource. If I'm looking on how to leverage, I think there's a really good chapter on LinkedIn. I think there's one on TikTok, but there's some real specific local council activation information around each one of these different platforms. And, I think we can all get better at using these platforms locally. And this is a really good source document to say, hey, here's some things you can do to really activate your Instagram Reels content, for example, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned this will become, version 1 will be coming out within the next week, and content will be added to this book as we go throughout the next few weeks, and it is a deep dive. So if you'd like to see something at a glance, that information is there and easily found and consumed. But if you'd like a deep dive on any of these topics, whether it's messages for fall and key message points, or targeting and the types of audiences that we'll be reaching out to, or platform information, or timing, all of that will be in this local activation playbook. And so you'll be able to find at a glance information, or if you'd like to, very deep, detailed information, all within this playbook.
Good. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to share. It's so important for somebody like me that's just knowledgeable enough to get dangerous with social media, that the playbook is out there, because I'm listening to all the different great things that the national organizations doing and partnering with different organizations. But it's so important that the local council also do something, and because you know your local market better than anyone else, and so really grab a hold of this playbook, get in here, ask questions, and figure it out. Because even someone like me that's not that great at social media can figure it out. And if you're not using it, you're going to be behind.
Yeah, Ben, that's a great point. I mean, if you think about, again, those of us remember buying radio back in the good old days, how the world has changed. Everybody has one of these in their pocket, right? And it's an advertising, it's a huge marketing advertising opportunity for us. And you're right, we can provide air support on these things, but one of the reasons that calls like this, and Ben, the calls that you do throughout the year, are so important, is how do we make sure councils are aware of what's going on at the national level and can plug into those things and leverage them if it makes sense, right? So, and by the way, I believe Eduardo Costas is also working on some Hispanic Latino content that will be a supplement to that playbook coming out some point in the next couple of months. So we're excited about that too, as well as I think we'll get into this in a minute. Ben's got a 12-point plan book that's also out there too. It's also terrific resources. So before we jump into that real quick, a shameless plug for the Brand Center. If you're looking for posters, flyers, yard signs, stickers, video content, B-roll, PR templates, you can find it on Scouting America's Brand Center. And there is a wealth of content there. Whether you're looking for stock imagery for something you're working on, unrelated to membership related stuff, it's absolutely a terrific resource. And by the way, if you don't see something there, by the way, I get one of these emails every single day. I'll get an email from somebody who says, hey, I'm looking for a picture of two guys in a canoe. Hey, we'll turn it over to the amazing Amy Leslie. Amy helps run the back end of the Brand Center and is also just a terrific resource. So we can help you find those types of things. So Darren, you want to talk about launch timing for the fall campaign? Because it's earlier this year than it's ever been.
Well, that's right. And we're trying to get earlier and earlier. And, it's when mom and dad are out looking for school supplies, that's when we want to start hitting them with Scouting's messages for the fall. And we know that gets earlier and earlier every year. And so we're aiming to be in market July 1. So you'll start to see these tactics that we've talked about today executing in markets July 1 and running all the way through October 31st. So really hitting that full recruitment cycle And we're very excited about that.
Yeah, well, and one note too, because we actually began a shift 2 years ago of, and here's how the dialogue went. You know, membership is so important for our organization. We've got to get more kids into this amazing program and continue to change lives. And I think we've all talked about year-round recruitment, and yes, we do. No, we don't, right? Well, we have started we start heavying up on July 1,
Yeah.
but the marketing campaigns are on year round. That's why search is on year round. That's why you see influencer content happening in February and March and now with North Valley Group. And all that's an ongoing effort to build awareness and interest. So when that flyer comes home or they see the slime kit, whatever it is, it's not the first time they've ever heard of us, right? We're constantly reinforcing either with public relations or whatever those tactics are. All of that supports membership growth in the organization. So we start heading up on July 1, but it's on now. So, and with that, well, last note too, mini mags. We got so many phone calls from people who said, yeah, we stopped printing mini mags around the time the bankruptcy started. But every time I go to a meeting, somebody's like, I sure miss mini mags. They're coming back. So Rachel, who is a new publisher of Scout Life magazine, is working on those right now. I think Ben's going to talk about the welcome. I think they're included in the welcome kits, but you'll also be able to order mini mags for your joint scouting night events, which are a terrific tool. So watch for ordering details on those coming up soon. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ben to talk about more great stuff. Ben, are you going to talk about the school night kits, or is that me?
Yeah, I'll touch on this in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's in my slides, so we can move right on through. But
Great.
Michael, thank you for doing all that stuff on the marketing campaign. I think when you and I were in our planning sessions for this, we talked about, okay, this is fall recruiting planning. Yes, marketing, but we also need to look at the boots on the ground tactical stuff. And it's hard not to talk about that things because I don't think we can survive without doing both and then
100%.
doing all the other things. So just a quick snapshot, like you've got all the fun digital stuff that we talked about earlier, but here are some of the things that you should be printing locally to use within your campaigns. And you've got some announcements and flyers. And if you'll go to the next one, Darren, you'll see a little deeper dive on the actual flyer. This is where it's not as much as you want to see an outdoors person holding up a fish. That's important. That's part of scouting. But what we've learned is families want to know how much time commitment it is. Can the family participate? They want to know more than just fish. And so that's what this is a sample flyer that dives into that. And it's actually been studied with some focus groups and surveys that have told us and come back and verified that. So just a quick sample of what an actual flyer that's a little bit deeper can go. Other things I'm going to just cover like stickers, and I'm trying to go back to the basics here and give you what I would call a skeleton of what you should have in your fall campaign. And flyers, you got to have. They're old, but it's still proven. I think when we do the surveys, the number one reason why people have joined is because they got a flyer. And so definitely do the flyers. Stickers, I like stickers. They go home. They remind the child, the parent that they need to come back. Other things that are a little bit more advanced are things you have to build those relationships with schools. And so having a principal gift, those mugs that you see, those are just samples. Those are $12. It's not the $30 Yeti that you're thinking, although Yeti's great. The notepad, I'll try to keep these things under $1. The dry erase eraser, the dry erase markers, those are all under $1. And you're trying to say, I don't know if you can spend enough on building relationships with principals and schools. They are our ticket to getting in. Also, if you ever been to an event and you walk in and you don't know where you're going, you're like, where do I park? Where do I go? Where do I do? It's confusing. But when things slap you in the face, like, whoa, I'm here in the right spot. Yes. And when you're talking about families that are wanting to join Scouts for the first time, they're looking for any little deterrent to keep them from joining. But if there's a sign and their child sees it, like, Mama, hey, that's where we go. So I highly encourage putting up signs at your sign of events. And then the yard sign is a staple. You have to put out tons of yard signs. It clearly works for the politicians. So please put your yard signs out and order plenty of them. So, and then the last thing I think I have as far as some things to order, a joining incentive. It's simple. Once again, I try to keep these things under $1, anywhere from like 65 cents a piece. But when you can, scouting's fun enough for us. We all know it. It's great. But to a new family, I'll take every advantage I can. If I can get a young boy or girl that's excited because I lit up a little thing of slime and said, if you come tonight and join, you get this slime. That's my little ticket to get them in the door. So I highly encourage you to have a joining incentive that's in addition to scouting itself. So just moving right along, some of you may be like, how in the world do I know what to order? I don't know what counts are. Here's just a quick guideline of what to order. It's different for every council, but if you start with this as a baseline formula, you'll be fine. And once again, these are, I think, are the essential things that you should have as part of a fall recruiting campaign. So don't expect you to remember it. If you want to take a screenshot, I'm pretty sure the deck will be shared. But this is just a quick way to figure out how much to order. All right. We alluded to it earlier about outfitters and what they're doing. And there's a QR code on here that'll take you right to their website, but you can just see School Nights Made Easy. I talked about the signage right there. They have some packages put together that you can give out at the sign up nights to where parents walk in and see a well organized event. So these are just two. You got some packets, the ones on the left, you got some easy ups on the right. And I think there's a couple other things on the next couple of slides, but making sure you take that welcome kit. That's a free item that outfitters, and y'all know nothing's free. They're covering that cost, but they're willing, but you have to get your all orders in. Some people like to get these shipped straight to your council and then you hand them out at the night of the sign up, and then some have it mailed, but those are free for you to take advantage of. And it's nice for the new families to get these new things. Also, recruiter, peer-to-peer campaign. It doesn't get much better than that. And so when the first thing a scout can do is bring a friend, they can earn, oh, that's one of the first patches that they can earn. All right. And then y'all, if y'all remember, the bookmarks last Halloween were a huge hit. Go ahead and put that in your plans. The sooner you start planning that, the more things you get to take advantage of. And also, if you aren't marketing and promoting the discounts with outfitters at your sign up nights, you're missing out. Because we know that when they buy the uniform, they stay in scout, more likely to stay in scouting. So be sure to promote that with all your sign up stuff. Wanted to highlight this slide when it comes to just back to the basics and essentials. It has to be, this is a shift. It has to be a staff volunteer partnership. I'm really not a fan of the days where the executive does everything and does the sign up and then walks the Cub Master over with 40 applications. That is daunting. It's better to have the Cub Master and committee chair involved and they get to meet these new families because that's who they are. If I stand up and do a sign up, they may or may not see me again, but the Cub Master, they're going to see again. So must have that partnership, staff volunteer. Cadence of accountability. I like putting focused energy on blitz weeks, scavenger hunts over the summer to make impact. It could be a yard sign blitz. It could be a principal cultivation blitz. It could be a meet with your Cub Master blitz. Because you definitely need to, along with those partnerships, you have to talk with the Cub Pack to make sure you're in alignment with what they want to do. And then once again, the essential materials, flyers, stickers, yard signs, joining incentives, principal gifts, and teachers gifts. So must-haves in the campaign. And then I think this might be one of my final slides, but I am a huge fan of this being a textbook recruitment schedule. And back to the pack is something done over the summer. You may think, well, that's not recruiting, but it is. It's securing your den leaders and leaders ahead of time in a non-crazy chaotic way. So like have a pool party or have a barbecue or something to where you get all the existing leaders back in a calm setting versus the first pack meeting. The first pack meeting is not the time to do it. It's already crazy enough. So back to the pack over the summer. Open houses. This is a yes and. You have to do the open houses in conjunction with your sign up event because this is the right before school starts is to meet your teachers, but you need to have a strong presence. And that comes with the partnership of the pack because if the pack knows the school, you have to work with the families. Sign up event at the actual school. The reason why I like this is every family is comfortable and knows where their school is. And so it's vital that you partner with the school to have it there because there's no barriers. They go to school every day. They know where it is. If you do it at the local park, they may or may not know the local park. If you do it at your church, which I encourage you to do in addition to the school sign up, They may not be comfortable with going to the church. They've never been. So stay within the comfort zone. And then the last thing is parent orientation. Stand alone. Get those parents in a room and put them to work. Don't let them sit in the back of the room and look at their phones. They'll be on their phones, then they'll be in their cars, and they'll be running errands before you know it, and then you won't have any leaders. So I think that may be my last slide. So thanks for letting me come on here. I think the partnership between marketing, social media, the digital world, partnering with the boots on the ground stuff is our best option. And I am here to help you elevate your game to the best you can in group scouting.
Well, Ben, you are the absolute expert in this. I love, by the way, I love the back to the pack concept. It always felt, I mean, again, I joke I'm a recovering Cub master, but to try to recruit that den leader the night of the joint scouting night event at the school, that was just brutal. But if you've got them in place before that happens, right? I mean, it changes the dynamic completely and probably increases the retention of your leaders.
It does. It's a much better thing. And then it also helps the first families that show up for the first time to that pack meeting. They don't turn away. Because y'all know how it is. It's crazy. And a new family may say, whoa, but if you have it broken up and you get it into two different meetings, it's much
Hey, Ben, tell me, I've seen a stat, we've seen it now for several years, and this comes out of Pat Whelan's excellent joining studies. Most Cub Scouts drop out after the first 30, 60, 90
it's
days.
That first, yeah, it is. And it's because I think they just weren't ready for it. It was just too overwhelming. And so some strategies, in addition to doing what doing the backfield pack helps is have that first meeting. I'm a fan of it being more of a den meeting in a smaller group. I mean, just imagine you're not there to get into some craziness. Some people thrive in that, but I think most people like the more calm, organized, structured meeting, and it can just be done when you're not trying to do too much.
Yeah. Well, I know Pat's research has also told us that those chaotic meetings turn parents off. They show up and they look around and they go, wait, what are we doing? And and they don't come back because they think it's crazy town, right?
I do agree.
Yeah, I think it's really, really crazy. Well, listen, this is fantastic. I think, the air support, building awareness and interest throughout the entire year. But Ben, you're right. The magic really happens when you get them in the room and you say, this is going to be an amazing adventure. Let's join scouting. That's making sure they come to those meetings, those joining meetings, and it goes really well. This is the 5-point plan. It's just fantastic. Hey, Darren, keep me honest on this. We've got another national marketing membership meeting coming up next month, and we're going to have even more details about the campaign. I know Ben is working on even more assets and resources for fall recruitment. I'm not sure a date on that yet, or is that coming soon?
That is coming soon. We're working the details on the date, but one of the things we'll be doing is a deep dive on that activation playbook. So we'll be going sort of section by section, what's in that and how to use it and what's covered there. So that'll be a great one. Look for the information on the timing of that in the Scout Executive Packet, but also in the marketing news and Scouting Wire. So we'll publicize that date as soon as we have that nailed down.
Probably Scout Executive Packet too, right? All the way around.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, thanks to everyone for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And again, the only thing wrong with scouting is there's not enough scouts. So let's fix that. We will look forward to seeing you we're going to run this show again tonight at 7 p.m. in case you just want to watch it again or invite other people to join. We're going to be talking more about membership and marketing this evening and then again next month as well. So again, thanks to everyone for all you do, and we'll see you tonight or we'll see you next month.